Hello friends and welcome. I am Samantha of Cribs Your Crafts, and if you're new here, I show you how I make things. Subscribe for more. Today I am showing you how to assemble the fifth clue in the Cotton Cuts Fall Puzzle Mystery Quilt 2021 Olympia. This is the fifth video in the Olympia series, so we are halfway through. If you missed the earlier videos, check out the playlist in the description down below. If you're not familiar with Cotton Cuts Puzzle Mystery Quilts, it is a 10-month-long monthly subscription box of pre-cut fabrics for making a mystery quilt. Each month's box contains all of the fabric you need cut to the shapes you need to assemble that month's clue. I am making the small Shaun colorway, which is made up of all of these beautiful Northcott shimmer fabrics. If you're making a different colorway, that's okay. Just make sure to match your fabrics using your key. Let's go ahead and open up the bundle for this month. So it looks like we actually have a little goodie in here this time. Let's see what this goodie is. I have no idea. I've been kind of staring at this since it showed up, and I'm wondering if it's like a mirror or something. Let's check it out. Aha, it is a mirror, and y'all can see my hi, hello. That's my face. Congratulations, now you know what I look like. So we have a little mirror. That's cute. And then we have our fabric. So looking at what we have here, we have a few small triangles of fabric B, and then a couple small squares of fabric F, two sets of larger triangles of fabric B again, and fabric H, a few more small squares in fabrics E and fabric A. And then we have some rectangles. We have some in fabric D. And we have a few rectangles of fabric H and fabric B again. Looking at our instructions, we're going to start by working with these small squares. So let's go ahead and set these aside for the moment. Just going to tuck those up out of the way. So we are going to be turning these squares into 2 9 patches. I'm going to start by laying out these 9 patches so I can show y'all a little trick for putting 9 patches together. So starting with our top row, we have a square of A, then a square of E, and then another square of A. Then our middle row, we have a square of E, then a square of F, then another square of E, and then our bottom row is just like our top row, and we have a square of 2 squares of A, one on each corner, with a square of E in the middle. Now, I am a bit of a lazy quilter. I like to sew as much as I can at once before I break thread and walk over to my ironing board. And I have a bit of a trick for sewing together a 9 patch completely before pressing. So it starts with sewing together all the pieces in the left column to their pieces in the middle column. So I'm going to sew these 2 together, then these 2, and then these 2. So I have these columns sewn together, and I still have the thread in between them. So now I'm going to take this right column and I'm going to sew it onto the middle unit. We have most of our 9 patch together, and by keeping these pieces chained, they stay in order. The rows stay in order. So now we're going to sew our rows together. And y'all might be asking, am I going to go press these seams now? Nope, not yet. I'm actually going to finger press them. So just lay your piece down and you're going to crease them over just like folding paper. My pressing directions say to press the seams in the top and bottom rows outside to the A fabric. So I'm going to lay it so that my seam is going this way, fold it over just like paper, and just run my finger along that seam right there. So that finger presses it. It's not perfectly flat, but it's flat enough that I can go ahead and nest these seams later. So I'm going to press this one to the outside fabric. The middle row needs to be pressed to the inside fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and lay it, make sure my seam is going the proper direction, fold it over just like paper, just like we're doing origami or something like that, and go ahead and press that. And then we're going to do the same thing on this side. So make sure my seam is going the correct direction, just feel it, you don't always have to look, and run my finger along the crease. And then I'm going to do the same thing down here. I'm going to press my seams to the outside in this bottom row. So once again, these seams are pressed to the A pieces. These seams are pressed to the center F piece. And these seams are pressed outside to the A pieces. Now, because we press these in opposite directions, we can go ahead and get really good points by nesting our seams again. So our seams are going, ooh, it helps if I center in the frame. Our seams are going in opposite directions. So you can see, because we still have that thread there, it kind of lines it up for us already, and we're just going to make sure we nestle these into each other nice and snug. You can go ahead and pin this for extra stability. I'm pretty comfortable sewing, just making sure the nesting rests together. So we're going to go ahead and sew both of these rows together. So now we have our first 9 patch sewn together. I'm going to go ahead and sew one more 9 patch together using these blocks, and then we'll come back and press these all flat. Our blocks are together, and so it's time to press them. Our directions are telling us to press these 2 seams here to the top and bottom. So we're going to press them away from the middle. So I'm just going to lay these down because my whole block is assembled. I just want to press it in one go. So I'm going to lay these down, and I'm again going to finger press our seam. This one on the top is going to go up. Just make sure all of our seams are currently laying nice and flat. And this one on the bottom is going to go down. So lay it flat, fold it back. And then we are going to make sure all of our seams are laying the right direction. And just give it a nice little finger press. Then we can take our iron, set it right on top. So with that seam nesting, we see we have very nice points. That is the first half of our 5A section complete. We're going to set our 9 patches aside for a moment and grab our rectangles of D, B, and H. We're going to sew these rectangles together in a stack with fabric D on top. So for me, that is this blue one. Fabric B in the middle and fabric H on the bottom. We're going to make 4 of these stacks. We have 4 pieces of each fabric. We're going to make 4 of these stacks, and we're going to press our seams to the middle B fabric. Now to complete our fabric 5A sections, we're going to sew one of each of these stacks on either side of our 9 patches from earlier. So we're going to make sure our D fabrics are both on the top on each side, and our H fabrics are on the bottom. So we have the same fabric across the top and across the bottom. And because we pressed all of our seams in our 9 patches to the A pieces and pressed the seams in our stacks to these B pieces, we're going to be able to nest these seams on the sides to make sure we're lining up our pieces and getting nice clean points. So just showing you some seam nesting again. We have our seams are going in opposite directions, and this sits perfectly, this top piece sits perfectly between the seams on the 9 patch. Let's go ahead and sew these together, and when we're done, we're going to press our seams away from our 9 patch towards our stack. So when we're done, we're going to press this away. That is our 5A pieces complete. Let's label those and set those aside. And we can turn our attention to the remaining triangles. Now we have 6 fabric B triangles and 8 fabric H triangles. We're going to set 2 of these fabric H triangles aside for the moment, and we're going to take all of our fabric B triangles, point going down, and place them on the left side, and sew them to our fabric H triangles, point going up, over here on the lower right. We're going to sew these together right along here, and we're going to press away from our fabric H triangles to the fabric B triangles. So we're pressing our seams going that way. So we've sewn a bunch of fabric triangles together before in earlier steps, but it's been a bit. So let's go ahead and remind ourselves of exactly how we're supposed to line these up. So the nose of our triangle here is trimmed off, and so is the corner of our triangles here. This makes it really easy to line these up perfectly so that we get those perfect 1/4 inch seams and no dog ears. So you line your flat edge up here, and we line our flat edge up here. And when we sew, we're going to aim for putting our seam from this point here to this point here. Now that these are sewn into pairs and pressed, we're going to sew these units together into 2 rows of 3, like so. When we're done, we're again going to press towards our B fabric. So when we sew these 2 together, it's going to be like this, and then we're going to press that away. And just a reminder on how we line these up again. So we still have our trimmed off corner up here, and this is a nice flat edge up here. And notice how this lines up pretty much perfectly. Our seams perfectly hit those corners there on the back. So we're going to take this flat corner, helps if I'm in frame, we're going to take this flat corner up here, and we're going to line that edge up flush with the top, and get this little corner right here lined up right there. And it's the same down over here on this side. So we've got a flat corner here. I'm going to line that flat corner up with this edge up here so that they're nice and flush, and we're going to line that up right there. Remember those 2 extra fabric H triangles? We're going to go ahead and sew them here on the left side of each of our rows. And we're going to go ahead like before, and we're going to press to the B fabric, so that away. So the final step, we have these last little pieces of fabric B in little tiny triangles. We're going to go ahead and sew them onto these angled corners of our strips, like so. And once again, just like with all of these guys, we are going to go ahead and press to the B fabric. So that away on that corner, and that away on these corners. And that is it. Time to label this section 5B and add it to our growing collection of completed units. Those are the instructions for month 5 of the Fall 2021 Puzzle Mystery Quilt Olympia from Cotton Cuts. Thank you to Cotton Cuts for providing the pre-cut fabrics for this tutorial. If you want any more information about the Cotton Cuts Puzzle Mystery Quilt, check out the link in the description down below. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to do the YouTube-y things, thumbs up and subscribe. And I'll see you next month for clue number 6. Thank you for hanging out with me during this series so far, and I will catch y'all later.